Sitting in the living room, Vine was trying her best to keep her eyes open. It was one past midnight and her dear husband wasn't home. Well, it was nothing new for her. Since the day they got married, he mostly stayed at work. Even on Sundays, he spent his time working in his study. During the initial days, she thought that he might be a workaholic man. But eight months passed and they never had a conversation like a normal couple. Hell, they barely had a conversation. Just few words only if it's urgent. Wine tried to converse with him many times but all in vain. He is like a robot, eat, work and sleep and again the same cycle. Wine found him very odd because his family is very sweet and joyful while he is just cold and distant. She liked him in the first sight when her father introduced him as his best friend's son in a party. No doubt he looked breathtaking in tailor-made blue suit. But it wasn't the only thing that attracted her towards him. There is this aura which he carried with himself, like there is something different about him, something he was trying to hide from this world. So when she got a marriage proposal, she instantly agreed. She got married with many dreams in her eyes, from having a lovely husband to having a romantic and happy life. But she never thought about the life she has been living from the past few months. With these thoughts in her mind, she fell asleep on the couch. Jimin opened the front door with spare keys and came inside. He found her sleeping on the couch inside. He looked at her for some time but made no efforts to wake her. He silently stepped towards the room but halted in his step when he heard her melodious voice calling him. Jimin. She rubbed her sleepy eyes to remove the drowsiness and got up turning towards him. When did you come? He turned facing her. His face was cold and blank like every day. Just now, he whispered with hoarse voice. Wine picked the water bottle placed on the table and handed him. He took a few sips before handed it back to her. Did you have your dinner? He shook his head. Wine sighed. Go and change. I am eating the food. He nodded and went from there while Wine went to kitchen. Jimin came in his casuals and sat on his chair. Wine served him food and then served herself sitting across him. He gave a confusing look. Oh, actually, I didn't have my dinner. I was waiting for you. She said nervously, fidgeting with her fingers. He didn't said anything and started eating his food. This made her more sour. She was expecting some reaction from him. She would have been happy even if he had scolded her for not eating food on time, but he just didn't care. Wine was trying till now with a little hope that at least he cared, maybe a little bit, but now her only hope was broken by none other than her dear husband. Her appetite was lost. She was just playing with the food. Finishing his food, he went to their room after washing his plate, leaving her with a heavy heart. When Wine came inside, Jimin was already sleeping on the far edge of bed, back facing her. She sighed and moved towards bathroom. After doing her night routine, she came and lay down beside him, staring at his back, inviting the deep sleep. Wine was making coffee for him when he came all ready to go to his office. Wine handed him the cup of coffee. Her fingers brushed with his when he quickly jerked his hand back. She looked at him. Hurt was clearly visible in her eyes. She placed the cup on the counter and turned back to continue making breakfast. This wasn't the first time. It always happens whenever Wine touches him, be it accidentally. He reacts like her touch burns him. She served the breakfast in a plate and placed it in front of him. He started eating without any word. We need to talk. He momentarily looked at her and nodded before resuming eating his food. She wanted to talk to him last night but dropped the idea when she saw him tired. You know, Jimin, we can't live like this forever like strangers. Hell, we are worse than strangers. Your neglected behavior hurts me. Pain was clearly visible in her voice when she expressed herself. Can't we just try to be like normal couples? If you have something in your heart, just say it. I can't take this anymore. We aren't progressing anywhere. We are stuck where we were 8 months ago. Jimin was silently staring at the plate of food. Will you please say something? You want this marriage? You want us to work? He got up from his seat and started moving outside. Wyan clenched her jaw in anger. Yeah, run away like a coward like you do every time. Why did you marry me in the first place if you wanted to behave like this? He turned around and stared at her with his cold eyes. My father forced me. That's it. He turned around and continued walking outside. I can't hang here forever begging you to give us a chance. I'll be tired one day, and guess what? I'm exhausted. He stopped hearing her but didn't turn around. Wyan waited for him to say something, but he walked out of the door. She looked at him until he disappeared. Tears welled up in her eyes. She held the counter for support. It was too much to take. His father forced him. He never wanted to marry her. She was trying for nothing. But it wasn't wrong to try once, was it? She was shook to the core. She fell on her knees and cried loudly. Maybe it was the dreams and expectations that she had from this marriage, from him, that was hurting her. Vine stood up and wiped her tears. I know what I have to do now. I can't stay here anymore. It's suffocating me. There's no point to try when he was forced in everything. I don't want to be burden on him. I'll divorce him as soon as possible and he'll be from this forced marriage. It's been 2 days since the conversation between Ryan and Jimin. Neither Ryan nor Jimin talked after that. Ryan avoided him as much as possible. She shifted her stuff in her other room and slept there. She prepared his breakfast early and left on the counter. She stopped waiting for him at night. Today is Sunday and it couldn't be more worse for Ryan. She was sitting in her room staring at her phone. Her mother-in-law just called her to invite her to their anniversary party in the evening. But the problem was she has to inform it to Jimin. Informing him means talking to him and Ryan didn't want to see his face. But she had to do it. Sighing, she stood up and made her way towards the study room, knowing he must be there. Ryan barged inside without knocking. He was engrossed in reading a file that he didn't notice her until she cleared her throat. He looked up at her for a second before looking back at the file. Ryan scoffed. Your mom called me. He stiffened at the mention of his mother. His grip on the file tightened. When he didn't say anything, Ryan continued. Today is their marriage anniversary and they invited us to the party. I don't want to go, comes his instant and dry reply. Vine took a deep breath to control her anger. Look, I don't care if you want or not. You have to come. My family is also coming, and I don't want anyone to think that there is nothing between us. There is nothing between us. He murmured to himself, but Vine heard it, and it hurted her to hear the truth from his mouth. I know you don't care about anyone's feeling, but I do. I don't want to make my family worried. Take it as a request and come with me. Uneasiness could be seen in his eyes, but he hesitantly nodded. Vine was confused as to why he denied to go to his own house and meet his parents, but she shrugged off and went from there. Vine and Jimin were on their way to his parents' house. Vine was dressed in a beautiful floor-length black gown, while he was wearing matching black color tuxedo. Vine could notice his uneasiness, the way he was sighing again and again, the way his body was tensed, him shifting in his seat frequently. Vine couldn't help but overthink about everything. Does he despise her presence that much that it was uncomfortable for him to share the same car with her? Her chain of thoughts broke when the car came to halt. Both got off and went inside. The party was arranged in the backyard, which was decorated beautifully. Vine first noticed her brother as soon as she came. She smiled and went to him. He was busy flirting with the girl. As soon as he saw Vine, he dismissed the girl and hugged her with a big smile. How are you, Theung? More happy and peaceful after your marriage. Vine glared at him. I'm not lying. There is no one to annoy me. The food made is all mine. I'm the pampered one now. I'm enjoying everything which you took away from me being the younger one. Vine pouted. I'm so jealous of you now. But whatever, I'm still their favorite. They love me more. It's just, in my absence, they are treating you good, nothing else, okay? She narrowed her eyes, pointing her finger at him, while he raised his hands in surrender. Okay, okay, Miss Pampered Princess. Both the siblings laughed. Anyways, where's mom and dad? They're out of town, mini honeymoon and all. So bad, they didn't tell me. Like you got time for us. Now you got a husband, why would you miss us? Why smile dropped at his mention. Taeyong noticed a sudden change in her. When he's treating you well, right? Or I need to break some bones. No, he's good. I just miss our parents. They'll come soon. You can meet them after that. By the way, where's your husband? He was with me. Wyan looked behind her, but he wasn't there. She looked around and found him sitting near the bar area alone in a corner. Wyan walked towards him, greeting his father on her way. She went and sat beside him. He noticed everything but stayed silent. He was staring at the glass of whiskey. He didn't look fine. She was about to ask him, but a voice interrupted them. Jimin, Wyan, it was his mom. Wyan smiled sweetly at her, but she noticed the change in Jimin. His body stiffened hearing her. He clenched his fists. His breathing fastened. She came towards Wyan and hugged her, which she reciprocated. She then turned to Jimin and smiled widely. Wyan felt bad vibes from the look she gave him. She kissed his forehead and hugged him. Wyan didn't hug her back. He didn't look comfortable at all. She didn't want to let go of him when Wyan pulled her away from him and pointed at his father. Mom, I think Dad is calling you. Oh, okay. She gave a smile to Jimin and went from there. Jimin mentally thanked Wyan for saving him. His body was shivering and he was breathing heavily. Jimin, are you okay? I am fine. I need to use the restroom. Saying so, he went away from there while Wyan watched him with concern. It's been more than 25 minutes, but Jimin wasn't back till now. Wyan was getting impatient. She was worried for him. Contemplating from with her mind for some time, she decided to go and search for him. Coming inside the house, she looked here and there, but there was no one. She wasn't familiar with this house. She found the stairs and decided to go upstairs. There was a lot of rooms. She went there checking each room. When she was passing from a room, she heard some noises from inside. She frowned her eyebrows and turned the door knob, and luckily it was open. What she saw inside made her blood boil. That so-called Jimmy's mother was all over him. He was shirtless with hickeys all over his upper body. She was trying to unbuckle his belt, but he was struggling his best to get away from her. He was crying and whimpering and shaking his head helplessly. Slap marks were on his face. Wyan lost it when she again slapped him. She strode towards her and grabbed her hair, pulling her from Jimin. She threw her on the floor. She pulled Jim into her chest, covering her with the blanket. He flinched and tried to push her away. She held him tightly, whispering sweet nothings in his ear. After some time, he calmed down. His mother again tried to come near him, but Wyan grabbed the nearby vase and threw at her, which hit her arm, and she winced in pain. Wyan quickly dialed her brother, and he came in no time. Jimmy's father came behind him. He looked at his wife and then at his son, who was crying and clutching onto Wyan like his life depends on it. What is happening here? This right here was trying to force herself on Jimin. Numb. That's what he felt after hearing this. Taeyong was disgusted. She came near Jimin's father. Honey, she is lying. You know I can't do anything like this. I'm his mother. I can't even think about doing it. She was trying to persuade him, but he was standing still, looking at his son. His miserable condition and Wyan's fierce eyes said the truth. The next thing everyone knew that she was on the floor holding her left cheek. I can't believe this. You did this. You knew that I married you only because of him. Because I wanted a mother for Poison. I was able to without a wife, but he took a deep breath. But I don't want my little son to be devoid of motherly affection, and you? I can't believe this. He looked at his son. A grown man who is able to protect himself couldn't fight against her. That means he looked at her angrily. How long? How long have you been doing this? Speak up, damn it, he roared loudly. She looked at him and looked down. He stumbled back when Taeyong held him. He was 8. He was just 8 at the time. I will kill you. How dare you do this to my son? He was furious, ready to pounce on her, but Taeyong held him. Leave me. I won't spare her. Uncle, calm down. I already called the cops. They will deal with her. No, no, no. Please, I am sorry. I won't repeat it. Please forgive me. She joined her hands in front of him. Forgive you? Forgiveness is for mistakes, not for sin. Punishment. That's what anyone gets after committing a sin. And you? I'll try. I'll make sure you get the worst punishment. Soon after, the cops came and arrested her. Taeyong went along with them. Jimin's father slumped down on the couch and held his head. He never knew his son was going through this from so many years. Now he knew why he was so distant, why he was so silent. He learned to keep things to himself because he wasn't there when he needed him the most. He looked at his son who was snuggled up with his wife. He got up and slowly came near him and sat beside him. Jimin, he called him, but he got away from him, snuggling more into her. He looked at him sadly. He knew that it was his fault. If he was a little attentive to him, maybe things would have been different. Wine looked at her father-in-law and assured him with her eyes. He looked at him for the last time and went from there. Wine looked at Jimin and kissed his head. I want to go home, he whispered, and Wine nodded. Wine took off the blanket from his body. She grabbed his shirt, which was on the floor, and made him wear it. He didn't say anything and let her do whatever she wanted. She held his hand and he didn't protest. She took him outside and they went from there. They reached home and Wine directly took him to their bedroom. Whole ride, Jimin was silently looking out of the window while Wine was driving. There was a lot that he needed to tell and a lot that she needed to hear, but it wasn't the right time. Go and take a shower. Wine said in the softest voice, but he was standing there staring at nothing. Come, I'll help you. Wine held his hand and took him inside the bathroom. Wine filled the bathtub with water and then she helped him remove his clothes. He got inside the bathtub while Wine sat on its edge. She brought her hand forward and touched his shoulder, making him flinch. Relax, Chevan. It's me. You are safe with me. She could and he relaxed, letting her wash his body. Bringing him fresh pairs of clothes, she helped him wear it and dried his long silky hair. She took him out and made him lie down on the bed, covering him with the duvet. She kissed his head and moved to change her clothes. Coming out, she saw him staring at the ceiling blankly. She lay down beside him and kissed his head. Sleep, Jimin. He looked at her with glossy eyes. I'm here. You are safe. Sleep. When I wanted to tell you everything. I am not going anywhere. I listen to you in the morning. For now, sleep. He shook his head. Please, I want to. I won't be able to do it after that. Okay, take your time. I'm listening. Don't think I'll judge you in any way. She sat up, resting her back on the headboard while he placed his hand on her lap. I lost my mother when I was 6. I was Mama's boy. I needed her 24/7. When she was gone, I was agitated. I used to cry all day for her. My condition was very bad. So, as my father, he lost his love, but he still collected himself as he had me to take care of. He handled me, from bathing me to feeding me to reading me nighttime stories. He used to do everything. I was slowly becoming normal, but the problem was my father was ignoring his business, which went huge losses that time. At the time, my grandparents forced him to get married again so that I could get a mother and he could handle his business. I was almost 8 when he got married again to her her. I was angry that how could he give my mother's place to someone else? I hated her. But she was nice to me. Initially, I started liking her, but it was only facade which hid her true face. We started living separately. Dad, I, and her. Dad was mostly busy with his work. Then she started showing her true colors. She used to beat me whenever made even a small mistake. Then, with time, she started touching me inappropriately. I wasn't aware that time, but it it felt so bad. I couldn't bring myself to tell this to Dad as I was scared of her. It continued for years. It was traumatic. It felt disgusting. I was a kid. I couldn't fight against her. I didn't know if she was doing something wrong with me. It felt bad to me. I was 13 when I heard my teacher telling girls about bad touch and good touch. I heard it. Then I learned that her touch was bad. Very bad. Jimin was sobbing and hiccuping by now. Wine had tears in her eyes. She couldn't imagine an 8 years old kid going through this much. Stop, Jimin. You don't have to. He shook his head. I want to. I want to let it out. I never told anyone, please. After that, I tried my best to avoid her touch as much as I can. When I turned 14, I insisted my father to send me to a boarding school. Fortunately, he agreed. He tried her best to stop me. She cried and what not, but I was adamant to leave from there. Dad sent me to US where I finally found peace, but the scars and memories she imprinted on my mind never left me. I used to get nightmares. When I came back, I never went there. I bought the spent house and started living separately. I joined business. Work was my only escape from those horrible memories. Now, when I look back, I feel ashamed on myself that I couldn't protect my sanity. It was all my fault that I was strong enough to protect myself. It's not your fault, Jamin. You were an innocent kid. It was her fault. Never blame yourself. She should be blamed and punished for doing such inhuman things to you. Ryan gazed his head and wiped his tears. Bending down, she kissed his forehead. But you never got nightmare with me. I don't know myself. I felt safe with you. Just by seeing your face, I feel peace. I never got nightmares when you were beside me until 2 days back. I am sorry. If I didn't have forced you to go there, then nothing would have happened to you today. No, Ryan. I'm finally at peace. If not today, then she never got caught. Why didn't you tell me before? I don't know. I never wanted to get married. She broke me beyond limits where I can't be repaired. I'm dirty. She made me dirty. I don't want you to get tainted along with me. You are so pure and I'm stained with every inch of my body and soul. She made him sit in front of her and cupped his cheeks. You aren't dirty. You are the purest soul ever exist on earth. You are an angel, my angel. He looked at her eyes, which shows nothing but truth and sincerity. For the first time in these years, he felt warmth inside his heart. You know you are the epitome of perfection. He chuckled. That's the worst pickup line I have ever heard. I'll tell thousands of these lines if that brings this beautiful smile on your face. She kissed his forehead. Come on, let's sleep now. She pulled him along with her. Lying down, she put his face on her chest, patting his head gently. He wrapped his arms around her waist and snuggled closer to her. Jimin, I have decided one thing. We are going to take help from a therapist. You need to love yourself. You need to look into your eyes with pride, not with shame. You need to learn that you are precious to yourself, to me. Will you do that? He thought for some time and nodded. I will. After that, you need to love me because I am this close to love you. She sought little space with her thumb and index finger, making him chuckle. I think I am already falling for you. Wine shook her head. No, 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 falling in love. He raised his head and looked at her confusingly. You know, need to grow in love. Let me give you an example. A seed. It is hard to break, but what is more hard to break is a tree. A seed needs soil and moisture to become a tree. Similarly, you are the seed. You are already very strong. When you will fight with your inner demons and win over them, you will be a tree. Means you will be more stronger. For growing, you need soil and moisture. I'll be your soil and moisture who will help you to grow, not to fall. I'll always support you in any worst kind of storm. I'll protect you always. Shouldn't I be the one protecting you? It's a mutual relationship. It's not you and me, it's us together in this. And I always wanted to spoil my man, so why not? For now, let's take it slow, baby steps. He laughed for the first time in years. She came like a shine in his darkness.